So in this video, I just want to give you a quick little explanation or overview of digitizing. So digitizing is a way that we can create new features ourselves, draw things out, trace them on maps. You might remember back in Lab 2 when we were doing working with the cholera outbreak data, there was a missing pump in the layer, and I had you digitize that by creating a new pump, just adding a feature. I'm just going to give you a bit more of a detailed explanation of that. So in order to digitize things, I've got a blank project here. I'm just zoomed in on Trout Lake. So I'm going to show you examples of how to digitize polygons, lines, and points. So you have to create a new entity. So you would go new, feature class, and then you just give it a name. So I'm going to create a polygon tracing out Trout Lake. So I'm just going to call it Trout Lake. And you see, you select polygon from the feature type. Next, you can click here to add new fields. I'm just going to give it a name, set it to text, but there's different options. You know, if this was a number or something like that, you could go with different things. So this is the most important part. You can also add them after the fact if you forget. So it's easy enough to make up for that. You pick the projection. So this base map is in the WGS 1984 web Mercator. So that's the projection that I'm going to use because I'm tracing it out based on an image that is in a certain projection. But if you're using satellite imagery that you've obtained, you want to make sure that it's in the projection that you're working with there, right? So if you're going to trace something out on the base map and then maybe work with it in your project with things that are in a different layer, you'd want to reproject it after you create it. But we're just going to work with this for now. And you can ignore that. It's not really important. Don't really need to worry about this one either. So then you can just click finish. Takes a second to create your new feature class. And now you'll see it pop up here. You'll have an empty layer, Trout Lake. You can add it to your table of contents. Nothing's going to pop up because it's empty. But if you go to the Edit tab, you can click this Create button. It comes up with a bunch of options. So you can click on Trout Lake, and then there's different options to create polygons, do different things, autocomplete them, etc. This is the one that we are primarily concerned with. Now, there's lots of things you can do with digitizing, editing, manipulating. I'm not going to go into full detail in all of it now. If you have more questions, you can just Google it, go to the Esri help page. There's lots of resources. But it's fairly simple. So you can start by just pointing and clicking, and you keep doing that to trace out shapes. Now, remember my discussion about resolution. I've talked about that a few times. The amount of time and effort you put into tracing out an object is going to relate to the resolution, right? So you see on this half of the coastline, I've done a pretty okay job. If you make a mistake and you click somewhere that you don't want, you can just hit Control-Z to undo it. The faster you go, the fewer points you put in, the poorer the resolution is going to be. When you're done with the feature, double-click to finish it. Then you can open the attribute table. You see that the shape length and shape area are already filled in, but there's no name. You can call it Trout Lake. And then you are done. When you're done working, editing, it's always important to click Save, to save your features. You save all the edits, it makes it permanent, and it's now stored in that layer. Now, you can also click this Modify Features tool if you want to modify something you've already created or modify a layer that you got from somewhere else. So again, there's lots of options. I'm not going to go into them all, but if you want to edit the vertices, select a polygon. So this one's already selected, and so you can see all the vertices pop up. You can click on one, and you can change position. So then if you click Save, it will save it. If you click Discard, it will undo anything that you've done since the last time you saved it. Now the process for creating polylines and polygons is essentially, and polylines and point features is essentially the same. So we're just going to call this bike path. We'll make it a polyline. So you select line, next, and I'm just going to breeze through this because this is just an example. I just want to show you how you can work with it. So this bike path layer, add this. Again, you click create. Now you see there's two options here. We had Trout Lake selected, but we're going to go with bike path now. You see that the options here are different because this is a line, not a polygon. And so I'm just going to trace out this bike path. Again, it's pretty much the same process as with the polygon. You double click, it finishes, you click Save Edit. If you had a name or any other attribute that you'd want to add to it, you'd need to do that now. And lastly, if you want to create points, again, it's the same process, new feature class. We're just going to call this random points. And then you just make sure you select point. Again, not really concerned with any attributes, just a quick example. So if you add this random points layer, and then you click create, once again, you'll see this option comes up, and there's even fewer options because all you can do is create points, or you can't really do anything else with the point layer. But you just click, it will create a point, click, create a new point, click, dot, 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 dot. Fairly simple. Then you click save. So that's just a rough look at digitizing to give you an idea. So for instance, say you're doing the ski run analysis and you want to propose potential ski runs at your resort and you want to digitize a couple lines. It's pretty quick and easy to do that. So there you go.